going to be reading The Great Kapok Tree. It's a tale of the Amazon rainforest and was written by Lynne Cherry. In the front of this book, they've included a world map so that you can see where the Amazon rainforest is located. And as you can see, it doesn't seem to be very far from us. Here we are in North America, and it is located in South America. And you're going to find, though, that these two areas, these two countries, are quite different. Great Kapok Tree. Before we begin reading, our strategy that we're going to be working on today is looking for the author's purpose. A good reader will know that there's going to be a reason that an author wrote a book. At times it might be to instruct you, to share information. It might be just to entertain you. It might be to persuade you. And it's going to be your job as you read this book to determine what the author's purpose is. Two men walked into the rainforest. Moments before, the forest had been alive with the sounds of squawking birds and howling monkeys. Now all was quiet as the creatures watched the two men and wondered why they had come. The larger man stopped and pointed to a great kapok tree. Then he left. The smaller man took the axe he carried and struck the trunk of the tree. Whack, whack, whack! The sounds of the blows rang through the forest. The wood of the tree was very hard. Chop, chop, chop! The man wiped off the sweat that ran down his face and neck. Whack, chop, whack, chop! Soon the man grew tired. He sat down to rest at the foot of the great kapok tree. Before he knew it, the heat and the hum of the forest had lulled him to sleep. A boa constrictor lived in the kapok tree. He slithered down its trunk to where the man was sleeping. He looked at the gash the axe had made in the tree. Then the huge snake slid very close to the man and hissed in his ear. "Señor, this tree is a tree of miracles. It is my home, where generations of my ancestors have lived. Do not chop it down." You can see there's other snakes. It's like an iguana looking at the man. A bee buzzed in the sleeping man's ear. "Señor, my hive is in the kapok tree, and I fly from tree to tree and flower to flower collecting pollen. In this way I pollinate the trees and flowers throughout the rainforest. You see, all living things depend on one another." You see all these beautiful butterflies and moths. And here's the little bee right next to his ear. A troop of monkeys scampered down from the canopy of the kapok tree. They chattered to the sleeping man. "Señor, we have seen the ways of man. You chop down one tree, then come back for another and another. The roots of these great trees will wither and die, and there will be nothing left to hold the earth in place. When the heavy rains come, the soil will be washed away, and the forest will become a desert." And all the while the man is sleeping. A toucan, a macaw, and a cock of the rock flew down from the canopy. "Señor," squawked the toucan, "you must not cut down this tree. We have flown over the rainforest and seen what happens once you begin to chop down the trees. Many people settle on the land. They set fires to clear the underbrush, and soon the forest disappears. Where once there was life and beauty, only black and smoldering ruins remain." A bright and small tree frog crawled along the edges of a leaf. In a squeaky voice he piped in the man's ear. "Señor, a ruined rainforest means ruined lives. Many ruined lives. You will leave many of us homeless if you chop down the great kapok tree." Oh, a jaguar had been sleeping along a branch in the middle of the tree. Because his spotted coat blended into the dappled light and shadows of the understory, no one had noticed him. Now he leapt down and padded silently over to the sleeping man. He growled in his ear, "Senor, the kapok tree is home to many birds and animals. If you cut it down, where will I find my dinner?" Four tree porcupines swung down from branch to branch and whispered to the man, "Senor, do you know what we animals and humans need in order to live? Oxygen. And Senor, do you know what trees produce? Oxygen. If you cut down the forest, you will destroy that which gives us all life." Several anteaters climbed down the kapok tree, with their young clinging to their backs. The unstriped anteater said to the sleeping man, "Senor, you are chopping down this tree with no thought for the future. And surely you know that what happens tomorrow depends on what you do today. The big man tells you to chop down a beautiful tree. He does not think of his own children, who tomorrow must live in a world without trees." A three-toed sloth had been climbing down from the canopy when the men first appeared. Only now did she reach the ground. Plodding ever so slowly over to the sleeping man, she spoke in her deep and lazy voice, "Senor, how much is beauty worth? Can you live without it? If you destroy the beauty of the rainforest, on what will you feast your eyes?" A child from the Yanomamo tribe who lived in the rainforest knelt over the sleeping man. He murmured in his ear, "Senor, when you awake, please look upon us all with new eyes." Okay, now I'm wondering, because it was animals and now it's a little boy, I'm wondering if he's going to wake up soon. Oh, he did. The man awoke with a start. Before him stood the rainforest child, and all around him staring were the creatures who depended upon the great kapok tree. What wondrous and rare animals they were. You can see the jaguar, and you can see all the birds here and the sloth, and they're all gathered around. And so I'm sure he's a little bit anxious right now. The man looked about and saw the sun streaming through the canopy. Spots of bright light glowed like jewels amidst the dark green forest. Strange and beautiful plants seemed to dangle in the air, suspended from the great kapok tree. The man smelled the fragrant perfume of their flowers. He felt the steamy mist rising from the forest floor, but he heard no sound, for the creatures were strangely silent. I think they're waiting to see what he's going to do. The man stood and picked up his axe. He swung back his arm as though to strike the tree. Suddenly he stopped. He turned and looked at the animals and the child. And just try to imagine what he must be thinking. And I'm wondering if he maybe heard some of what they were trying to tell him while he was sleeping. He hesitated, then he dropped the axe and walked out of the rainforest. And at this point, I'll bet you're clapping. So I'm sure that everybody's been thinking really hard about what the author's purpose was for writing this book. And luckily, he actually wrote in the back of the book, he wrote what his purpose was. And I'll read that to you now. Or her, rather. It's actually, the author is Lynne Cherry, so that's a girl, a woman. Dear readers, I wrote The Great Kapok Tree to let the world know what happens to the rainforest creatures and to the entire planet when rainforests are destroyed. I hope that after reading this book you will help save the rainforest. The Great Kapok Tree is about the Amazon rainforest, a tropical rainforest, but we have a temperate rainforest in the Pacific Northwest of the United States that we must protect too. Please care for Mother Earth. Together we can make a difference. So her purpose was to persuade us to take care of the earth around us. So what a wonderful reason to write such a beautiful book.